Hello, Sanmonan. So, news right in is that the President of the United States of America, President Joseph Joe Biden, has officially dropped out of the race to become the President of the United States of America again. He will no longer be seeking a second term. This, of course, comes in the aftermath on the back of the first presidential elections debate that took place. I believe it was on the 27th of June, which was disastrous for President Joe Biden, as well as the Democratic Party as a whole. He seemed as though he was somebody who was just too old. He seemed as though he was going through a cognitive decline, or at least was going through a cognitive decline, and some were even saying that he may have been, showing signs of dementia. And in the aftermath of that, of course, there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of Democrats who were outspoken about, his unfitness to hold office, to run for the office of the presidency. Some publicly, others not so publicly, but there was clearly a lot of pressure from the Democratic Party to replace him. Funders, stopped, funding or froze their funding to the Democratic Party because they believed that, he needed to be replaced. And unless he was replaced, they would continue to freeze their support, their financial support to the Democratic Party. And it seems, by all accounts, that President Joe Biden has essentially bowed or gave in to the pressure that was placed on him to bow out of the race of the presidency of the United States of America. Right? So what does this mean? From where I'm sitting, it means a couple of things. First of all, the Democrats have failed. They have failed dismally. And the perfect way for me to describe why it is that I think they have failed is an argument that was actually made by my aunt in a world or in a sphere that is absolutely unrelated to politics, to American politics whatsoever, but in the world of football in England, in the English Premier League. So my aunt believes that the person who is principally responsible for the decline of the football club that is Manchester United is squarely on the shoulders of its leader, its manager and coach for 27 years, which was Sir Alex Ferguson. She is absolutely adamant that it's his responsibility. It was his job to go about the business of bringing about and grooming a successor, and he did not do that. Even though he was at the helm for 27 years. That's her argument. Her argument is that you don't sit in a position for 27 years and not institute and not begin and not bring about a succession plan or groom a leader that is going to succeed you after that. So that's the reason why she believes that Sir Alex Ferguson is responsible, principally responsible for the decline of Manchester United, the football club, the English football club. And you know what? As much as I appreciate and I have an affection for Sir Alex Ferguson and the work that he did for Manchester United, it's very, very hard for me to argue against that argument that she makes. So in the same way, in the same breath, in the same sort of vein, I believe the Democrats have failed principally because they essentially failed to bring about a succession plan. They failed to groom somebody. They failed to build up a candidate that was going to replace Joseph Joe Biden as the president elect, or as the president, or as the nominee for the Democratic Party to run for the presidency of the United States. They should have seen it coming. President Joe Biden is 82 years old this year. They should have been able to anticipate that by the time his term ends, he will simply be too old to run for office again. And they ought to have built a successor. They ought to have brought about somebody that was going to take over from him as the president of the Democratic Party. I don't know if they conceptualize it that way, but the nominee for the Democratic Party, right? So that's the first thing. The first thing is that the Democrats have failed. They should have seen this coming. They should have prepared themselves. They should have brought about a successor. They should have had a succession plan to replace President Joseph Biden. They didn't do that. They were essentially caught with their pants down and had to scruffle, and they are essentially scuffling to find a replacement for President Joe Biden in the last minute, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that from what I can tell, especially the fact that President Joe Biden has endorsed Kamala Harris to be his successor, I do believe that essentially what this means is that Kamala Harris will be the nominee for the Democratic Party. She's the vice president, the current vice president of the United States. So she's the closest person to the position in the Democratic Party. Gavin Newsom has sort of said some things that sort of allude to the fact that he's not going to be running against Kamala. He, had some laudatory and good things to say about Kamala, which sort of gives the impression that he's going to be supporting her to be the nominee for the Democratic Party as well. So by all accounts, it seems as though Kamala Harris will be the Democratic nominee for the Democratic Party against the son of Fred and Elizabeth Trump, Donald John Trump, of course, of the Republican Party. But not only is she going to run, I believe that she is going to lose to Donald Trump. And that is going to be a very, very clear, a very, very decisive, a very, very emphatic and clear victory for Donald Trump. I believe it's going to be a landslide, by a landslide, that he's going to win. And of course, what that means is that, I've said this before, I've said this, a number of times before, that President Donald Trump is going to be the 45th as well as the 47th president of the United States of America. And there is nothing that anybody can do about that. And that is just what is going to happen. That is my perspective. That is my opinion regarding what has transpired over the past weekend. Over the news of the dropping out of President Joe Biden from the elections. I would love to hear what you think about what is going to happen. And please don't get me wrong, I do not like the fact that Kamala Harris is going to lose. I don't like that at all. As a black person, as a person who is progressive, a person who believes in equal opportunities and equal representation across the genders and across the racial lines, it would be great. It would be great for somebody of color. It would be great for somebody of the female gender to be president of the United States of America. It would go a long way in addressing some of the issues, even if it's just symbolic. But this is not about what I like and what I do not like. This is about my objective perspective, and my objective perspective is that she will run and she will lose. She will lose to Donald John Trump, and he will be inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States of America come the 20th of January 2025. What do you think?